Hi, my name is Michelle Poast. I am a doctoral student in the Sam Houston State University doctoral program, and this is my proposal for a supplemental instruction evaluation plan for Dixie State University. This proposal has 6 main components. I'll talk about the background of Dixie's supplemental instruction program, as well as the purpose of this evaluation program, the design I would suggest we use, the timeline, the financial considerations, and ethical concerns. The supplemental instruction program at Dixie State University actually began as a pilot program in spring of 2016. At that time, I was working on my internship piece of my doctoral program, and I was able to basically lead the pilot program for the intermediate algebra course in the supplemental instruction plan. Dixie State University was recently awarded university status, and in response to that, they decided to create an overall strategic plan to move from university status to university stature. One of the pieces of that plan was to create supplemental instruction programs for the courses that had the highest rates of dropout or failure. So one of those courses was intermediate algebra, which is a course that I teach every semester. I was able to speak to the person in charge of developing the supplemental instruction program and use that as a means to satisfy my internship last semester. So this semester, fall of 2016, we were able to continue the intermediate algebra supplemental instruction program and expand it to include 4 areas in science and then other courses within the math department. The way it works is that the supplemental instructor overseer for that course, so for me it's the intermediate algebra course, I call myself an architect for that course, and what I did was I chose a couple of students who took intermediate algebra from me in the previous semester who earned A's or B's, and if they were interested in this program, then the following semester they would re-attend my intermediate algebra course as supplemental instructors and meet with me once a week, and then offer these sessions for any student taking intermediate algebra to help supplement their learning support for intermediate algebra. We currently offer them classroom space within the math department. Other disciplines use classroom space in a student services building, and then the math department also offers support in the area of materials and different copies that need to be made and manipulatives that I might need for the curriculum. The purpose of this particular evaluation really for me is to understand whether the curriculum that I've created for supplemental instruction that my instructors use is actually effective, if the participants of supplemental instruction actually feel that what they're doing during the sessions is helpful. Also, because this will be the first evaluation since the program began, we can establish some benchmark criteria for participant satisfaction and completion rates. What that means is whether the people who are actually attending the supplemental instruction sessions are choosing to complete the intermediate algebra course that they're enrolled in. And then finally, it will serve as a model for other disciplines within supplemental instruction to create some ongoing assessment. The model that I chose is participant-oriented, and it's really kind of decision-based. I chose 4 evaluation questions. The first one says, of the following supplemental instruction activities, which ones are helpful or not helpful towards understanding the course concepts? I list the types of activities that I include in the supplemental instruction curriculum. Flashcards, activities using manipulatives, games, fill in the blanks, and practice exercises. Basically, this is a questionnaire that I'm hoping that the participants of the sessions will be able to say which of those topics were helpful and which weren't, so that I can gear my next semester's curriculum to address that. Question 2, what activities would be helpful that are not listed in question 1? So I'm hoping students can give me feedback that perhaps there's something that we're not doing, we're not providing. Now there is a little bit of sensitivity there when we develop the supplemental instruction program. many people expressed a concern of repeating efforts that are already being put in place in the tutoring center, in the math lab, in teacher office hours, and in the classroom. So the goal for supplemental instruction was to develop activities that students could do that they weren't going to get from one of those other entities. So on question 2, if a student responds with something that is already offered in another service, then we would simply recommend that they utilize that other service. What I'm specifically looking for are suggestions that would be appropriate for supplemental instruction. Question 3 asks, to what extent are students satisfied with the Intermediate Algebra Supplemental Instruction Program? So this is a Likert scale, with 5 categories ranging from not satisfied at all to completely satisfied. And again, because we've never done an evaluation on this program, this will serve as our benchmark. And number 4, what percent of students participating in the Intermediate Algebra Supplemental Instruction Program completed the Intermediate Algebra course during that semester? Also, this will serve as a benchmark for future evaluations. The data sources, basically we have a database on our math students. Because we do these courses using my math lab, it's easy to be able to extract particular data. And so we will be doing that. Specifically, we have a data analyst that's full-time employee of the math department, and that person will actually be extracting that data and administering the questionnaire, which will ask the other questions on this evaluation. That person will also then synthesize all that information and run some descriptive analyses as well as some inferential analyses for myself and the other stakeholders to review and use for change. So the timeline here is really not a hard timeline, but the idea is to be able to run these formative assessments every semester so that by the end of the semester, the architects can walk away with information and use that information to make changes before the next semester starts. This particular evaluation is really not very costly. In fact, it should be able to be covered with the funding structure that's already in place. As far as myself as an architect, I'm choosing to be an architect as a volunteer component of my e-portfolio, which will count towards my future promotions and tenure status. And most architects fall within that same incentive. So the extra work it'll take me to, that it did take me to develop the question on the questionnaire, and that it will take me to make changes is something that I've already committed to doing. So there's no compensation needed. The data analyst, who will be the person who actually extracts the data, is already a paid employee of the math department, not of the supplemental instruction program. And so there won't be any added funds needed for that person. That job is already basically part of the job description for that position. However, if other disciplines decide to model their assessments after mine, they might want to consider how they're going to pay the person who analyzes their data, because they may or may not have an equivalent position in their department. The stakeholders really are there to meet once the data is collected and talk about how to make appropriate changes based on the data that's collected. That meeting is also a part of their commitment that's already in place, so there really shouldn't be any necessity of extra funds for that. I do have some ethical concerns. For starters, I am the architect of the intermediate algebra coursework for supplemental instruction, and I am the one who's looking for this evaluative feedback primarily. And so the reason I chose to use our data analyst as the person to actually administer the questionnaires and extract the data and run the analyses is to create an external examiner model, so that there would be reduced bias. Typically for evaluations, the funding source can be also a source of bias. If the person funding or the entity funding is looking for a particular outcome, that can be questionable. But in this case, since there aren't any funding requirements outside of what we're already doing, I don't see that as an area of concern. We have an an informal evaluating office, but one of the issues that I'd like to implement as a result of this proposal is an actual formal general purpose evaluating office, which will also help with the potential bias. The results obviously will impact the student's experience, which I think will be exceptionally positive. The supplemental instructors will be impacted by it, so obviously we would want to share the results with them. The architects are the specific target for this particular evaluation, but really everybody should be in a position to benefit. The administrators obviously would want to use this information to show the governing bodies and the the stakeholders some objective um, results for future funding and future support of the program. And then finally, other institutions, I would imagine in the future, would be looking at our model if they're considering creating a supplemental instruction program at their institution. So this concludes my proposal, and I appreciate your time and hope you have a good day.